Welcome back.
Good morning.
It is Monday. Welcome to the Ashes to Rubies conversational podcast where we talk about life in recovery and more. You went away on a trip. You left Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and came back Sunday. How was your time?
You missed me.
How was your time? Do you miss the people in your life that leave, that go away for a trip? I do.
Yeah.
If it's longer than 2-3 days.
I'm pretty present where I am.
Yeah. We're not that couple that is FaceTiming throughout the day. Definitely not us.
I did think of you. I missed my bed.
I heard from other people that you talked about me the whole weekend.
That's not true.
No, I heard from multiple people that, oh, your wife loves you. She talked about you nonstop. So I'm just saying, I heard it not from one source. There was a couple sources. I would like to start off this day by confessing a few things. So I just want to confess a few things, get them off my chest.
I feel like you should be zoomed in a little bit and be able to zoom
should
in
I be?
All right.
I just want to make a confession that on Thursday, no, we did well on Thursday. It might have been Friday night where I fell to an ice cream bar, but I was saving my son because of his jaw, and I took it away from him because we're at Nana's and it was crunchy chocolate, not...
Do this confession like in a nutshell.
And then on Saturday, I believe that I watched 4 NCAA football games.
Oh, wow.
And so we sat on the couch for the whole day. It felt odd and unproductive, but at the same time, man, I watched a lot of college football.
So, ice cream bar aside, that's another conversation. But do you feel that spending a day watching football with your son is a day poorly spent?
No, because we got some yard work in.
Is that part of the confession?
We cut the grass. No, it was just like, I'm not used to watching that many, consuming TV at that level. And I was like, wow, that was... yeah, it was good, and we hung out, so that is productive.
Was there negative, like, did you go to bed later than you usually would, and like sleep in and not?
No, by the 5th game that was coming on, because they go from coast to coast. So now we're in the 5th game, and it was starting at 10:30 at night, and we had.
Did you go to bed?
Another confession. We had some chips and some popcorn. Although a person with a broken jaw can't eat popcorn very well, we figured that one out. But it's coming into 10:30 and the next game's on. And I'm like...
You went to bed.
I went to bed. I tapped out, as they would say.
Can we talk about the sugar thing for a minute? Because you've said a few times on this podcast that you're not eating refined sugar.
I'm doing my best not to.
So, okay, so...
Is ice cream refined sugar?
That's what I would like to discuss. Because I feel like when we make these like blanket statements, like, I'm never going to do this, like... that we're setting ourselves up for failure. Yeah, you do. You say, I'm not eating refined sugar. I quit refined sugar.
Yeah. And then I try to sum it up with, I'm doing my best by not eating.
Okay, so that's it. So you're doing your best not to eat refined sugar.
Maybe I'm doing it on my own power and I'm not relying on God's power, because I'm truly looking at sugar now as a drug. Like, it produces a craving for more of it. And I'm like, I think it's so easy to be addicted to sugar. Especially processed sugar, because they take away all the things that your body needs to break down to get to glucose. And it's just giving you like the raw crack cocaine. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm struggling with not having it more than I think I am or want to admit on camera. But at the same time, I need a power grade myself and say I'm not reliant on myself, because I had ice cream one day and then I had ice cream the next day and somebody caught me. And I was like, oh.
Wait, if someone caught you, that means you were hiding.
No, I wasn't hiding.
Can I just tell you that anything that you're doing in secret?
I need to go to rehab
probably
for sugar
addiction.
Discuss. Yeah. I think it's a process and a progress, and I think I'm progressing.
Because I'm just going to tell you that occasionally I'm going to go for ice cream.
Oh, okay, so now you're... Yeah.
No, I've told you that multiple times over this quitting sugar thing. I've told you that for birthdays and like celebrations, I want to have sugar because I know that I'll just quit otherwise. Like, I'll just give up. And so then because
into a sugar
and then just be like out of control. I want to would like to be healthy. I would like to feel strong in my body. I would like to feel healthy. I would like to feel balanced emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
Yeah.
And I feel that having a special occasion treat is balance.
I get that, and I don't want to push my agenda on you or my consideration of what sugar does to me, because it might not do. I'm just trying to figure out, could I do that with alcohol? Once a month on a special. So I get that, but can I do that with sugar?
So that leads me to the next part of my conversation is, if I find that I'm creating special occasions in my head so that I can have more sugar, maybe I have a problem.
Maybe I got a problem.
That's all.
So I'm not pushing sugar,
because that's what you did with alcohol,
addiction on anybody, but I'm trying to determine for myself and identify if, I just want to get out of this conversation and start Monday all over again. And the confession time has led me down to,
Is this the book we're reading?
I don't want to be. This is the book. Yeah, I don't want to be overwhelmed with trying to figure everything out at the beginning, but I want God, a caring Father, to lead me into truth, and so I want to be open. And I think that's a great spiritual principle: is open-mindedness to truth.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I go for like a little treat and I'm like, I'm just going to get a little small.
3 days in a row.
A small.
Wow.
A small.
So yesterday we
gelato.
went for gelato again last night to reward ourselves.
No. Only one of us was going again. I have not gone for gelato in a few weeks.
I think you went this week.
No.
Earlier.
No, you did.
Last Sunday. Last weekend.
Yeah.
So in 1 week, not a few weeks.
1 week.
Okay, so.
But you have since
so
then
we were always getting a small, and then last night I got a medium, which no one even saw me do until we stacked the cups together, and then somebody's like, "You got a medium?"
For the garbage.
Oh, I did get a medium.
Right. So we're going to talk about irresponsible behavior. Irrational and irresponsible behavior is our reading today.
We've used up all the time discussing that I am in progress and not perfection. That's the key.
Here's what we need to think about today. If irrational and irresponsible behavior on the part of my loved one or people around me has betrayed me into assuming an attitude of contempt for them, some serious examination of myself is in order. Whew. They are not bad people who must be directed, disciplined, or punished by us. They are sick, confused, and guilt-ridden human beings with badly battered egos. God has given no one the right to humiliate another. In every one of his children, there are qualities that should command our respect. And to withhold that is a wrong that will return to wound us. Today's reminder. It is vital to my serenity to separate in my mind the sickness of alcoholism or
sugar addiction,
emotional sickness, from any person who suffers from it. I will dignify them with the respect which is everyone's due. This, in turn, will give them back the self-esteem that is an important element in wanting sobriety or emotional stability. The surest plan to make a man is think him so. Sometimes these quotes aren't helpful for me.
So what I'm thinking of is that I can trade my alcoholic insanity for the insanity that I can run my life. And it's a fair trade. Like that's what I can go into recovery and get a few years in. And now I don't have irrational and irresponsible behaviors that you can pick apart, but
around alcohol.
But now I've traded my alcoholic insanity for the insanity that I can run my life again. And I can be just probably more irrational and more irresponsible in doing that because I'm sober, and the confusion around that. That's the first thing that I thought of. But the real problem is I have this spiritual issue inside of me that's causing all of these things. And so then what I'm hearing in this is, how do I react How do I deal with people that are living in the problem?
Right. So I want to start by breaking this down. So if I have conflict in relationship, if I'm having conflict in any relationship, there's what I perceive to be irrational or irresponsible behavior coming from another person, and we have conflict. Typically, I will believe that it's their fault.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens in me is that I develop an attitude of contempt for them. And then I need to seriously examine myself. That's what this reading is telling me.
And so contempt would be resentment. Rooted in fear, because you're not getting
frustration
what you need from that person.
And so, this book is written from an Al-Anon perspective. So for the typical, typically it's been the wives of alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
But actually I really believe that this reading kind of really, it applies to anyone, whether you're talking about like a work relationship and it's your colleague that, you see them as having irrational or irresponsible behavior. And so now I have an attitude of contempt. Often this comes up with children.
So then contempt and resentment is to have those to die, because I will go back to my drinking and you'll go back to your overthinking, adrenaline, chaos creating, all of that stuff, control.
And boy, do I go crazy.
Yeah, boy.
And so
it's taking responsibility.
Yeah, I think this is an important piece that, none of us has the right to humiliate another. Mm. And as a codependent, or as like, from my perspective, the person who lived with, other people who I perceived as being irrational and irresponsible, there's so much frustration and control and fear that starts to come up. And we often see this with parents, especially parents of like grown children, they're teenagers or young adults, and now they're starting to make their own decisions. And like, we see them just as being like, what are you doing?
And then what does it mean to humiliate somebody? What does that look like?
Oh, I mean, when I would throw a temper, when I would lose my cool, it was your fault. You did this. Like, I'm losing my cool because look what you have done.
And look what you're making me do. I pay all the bills.
You're making me do this. Yeah.
You're just a roommate here.
Right.
You'll never get this. You're always doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you'll never get sober.
So I was the master at basically taking kerosene and throwing it on a fire, and it would just blow up. But it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. It was your fault. Yeah. And so for me, from this perspective of a person who wants emotional sobriety, like, that's my goal. I want to live an emotionally sober life where I'm not ruled and run by all these emotions. And what the place that I came to is actually, I don't have that choice. Like, I can't just choose that I'm not going to get upset. Mm-hmm. I don't have that power. I need God's power. Mm-hmm. I need God to give me the power to be able to make better choices in those emotional moments, in those times of conflict.
Mm-hmm. And not having power over people and ridiculing them and humiliating, because that means you're playing God. We're playing God. So let's leave it there. Dealing with irresponsible and irrational behavior because somebody is separated from God. How do I deal with that? What do I do with that? And I think let's observe where that's happening today, because if I'm not dealing with it appropriately, then I'm playing God and I'm making matters worse. So
that's what you have to think about today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. You can also find us on podcast, and you can download this and listen to it on the go in your car, wherever you want. And I just want to say to you, I especially so appreciate when I get messages or questions. Thank you for that. Have a great day.
Much love, guys. See you tomorrow.